Friends, welcome to another episode of Victor Escalante Live. We have with us our resident marketer, Jose Monterrosa, and his assistant, Michelle. Give us your last
Wicmandy.
name.
Wicmandy.
Wicmandy, yes. So today we have a topic very interesting for you about how to get free press. I'm a legacy media veteran. I've worked in TV as a producer. I've worked in talk radio as a producer for 3 different networks. And I'm going to give you some tips, but I want to use the expertise of Jose and Michelle, who they are the ones on the other end booking guest appearances on TV sets and radio programs. Jose, I would venture to say that you know every single TV set in Houston, don't you?
At this point, pretty much, yes. Yes, radio and TV, that's my thing.
As much as I see your publications or your postings online, it's like you practically live there. They should have a bed for you there.
Yeah, they are offering me the keys of the door,
There you go. That's what it takes.
Yeah.
All right. So why don't we go ahead and get started, and let's take a look at the details, because we have prepared some questions for you.
Sure.
That we want to. These are some of the common questions that people have when it comes to media, and you on the booking side. Again, you bring a wealth of experience in order to be able to assist individuals and companies to be able to understand the process, but more importantly, the best practices of what to do and what not to do, because it's a jungle out there. And I'm sure that media has changed a lot. And unless you're up to date on the best practices, I know that what used to work back when I was in media is not necessarily working. And so that's what I want you to give us a thorough understanding of how things have changed. So Jose, why don't you go ahead and get started by telling us what is the current situation in legacy media and being able to get some free press?
Yes, well, I guess one of the things that people ask many times, or maybe one of the questions that come up frequently is why is generating a presence in news media a good thing for companies? That is one of the things that I hear a lot, and this is related to the question that you asked. And what I can share with those that maybe are not that familiar with having presence on news media is that there is a credibility factor associated with being on news media. I'm gonna go ahead and reduce my screen here just to make sure that I read the notes. But the fact that you're on TV, the fact that you're on print, the fact that you are on radio gives you a sense of credibility. That goes associated with being out there. Okay, so that's a big plus. The other thing that I feel that is very important to consider here is the legitimacy of being on news media. Are you real, right? Are you who you say you are? Because if not, then maybe you are not necessarily the person that you are trying to, or the company that you are trying to present. So legitimacy, credibility associated with being in the media, and credibility also associated with the question of, can I trust you? Are you a company that I can trust? Do you have a service that I can trust? Do you have a product that I can trust? So those two things I think are really important to keep in mind here. The third thing that I feel is important is the number of impressions that you are going to generate once you are out there in the news media, the number of people that you are going to reach. If you use regular or traditional advertising, that this is going to cost. But let me put it this way: reaching thousands of people in the Houston area or Texas or the US can cost thousands and thousands of dollars, as opposed to doing a good pitch with your local TV station, with your local radio station, or whatever online outlet there is out there. You can save a lot of money, frankly. And Michelle, I'm sure you're going to agree with this.
Well, I wanted to piggyback on what you said about the trust factor.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing about press is that people trust their friends, they trust word of mouth, they trust referrals, they trust the news media, the opinion leaders, reference groups, and so on. So that trust factor is very important when it comes to attracting more views, and when it comes to building your presence online or with the news or in the media.
Absolutely. And this is especially true with those companies that maybe are new to the market and nobody knows. I mean, there's no awareness built, right? So, I mean, you're trying to find a way to build that awareness. Obviously, getting those big numbers in terms of reach and impressions is extremely important.
Just to give our viewers an idea of what we're talking about. The reach of the Houston Chronicle, I'm talking in the old days, prior to 2008, after the collapse of all media. The weekend reach of the Houston Chronicle was over 1 million papers.
Yeah.
And the reread of papers, because one paper was typically read by 2 or more people. And so imagine that kind of reach on the weekend. Just a little 1/8 of a page ad that would cost you over $5,000.
Yeah.
Those days are long gone. But again, we're talking about reach. We're talking about which, again, for the right company, that was a bargain in order to have that kind of reach.
Yeah, well, in the Houston area, the Houston Chronicle is what it is, right? I mean, I see the numbers on Meltwater, which is the, almost like one of the standard platforms that people in my field use to measure impact on media. And, just being in the Chronicle is by far is significant, especially for those that are in the Houston market, right? So again, those 3 factors, I think, are the ones that are key here: the number of reach, impressions, credibility, and legitimacy. That is why we feel it's important to be in the news media.
Let me give you another interesting facts, because I also worked at the Houston Business Journal. Try to guess the number of publications, not reach, number of newspapers printed weekly. Try to guess. Do you know, Michelle?
Oh my goodness. I used to write the growth strategy section for the Houston Business Journal years ago.
Okay.
And that would have been the time when, the Houston Business Journal was quite thick.
Yes.
But I want to say it was it like, I want to say 60-some thousand. It's probably more than that.
Try. You want to give it a try, Jose?
I'm not going to try. No,
5,000
printed.
5,000 printed newspapers per week.
Okay.
Maybe I was thinking of the circulation, the reach with the pass along rate.
Yes, the pass along rate was about 5 reads per newspaper.
Gotcha.
Because again, it was very typical to go into a big corporation and see the Business Journal right there in the lobby. And so, of course, it was going to be read if you're waiting to see somebody. But just imagine 5,000 newspapers printed per week. Back in the old days with very expensive rates, it was because of the audience who was reading the publication.
Yeah.
That the rates were so exorbitant. So again, if you appeared in a story in the Business Journal, that gave you immense credibility, especially in the professional world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that is no fake news like we got today.
Right.
So Jose, let's go on to the next question that people have. Do all companies have stories that can be pitched to news media?
So in my view, I don't think so. I think that, and Michelle may have a different opinion on this, but I feel that some companies simply let's put it this way: they may have a newsworthy story that they can share, but it's so hard to dig out that story, or it's so cost prohibitive to dig it out, that you wonder, is there a story here that is worth the investment of,
Yes.
looking for it, finding it, pitching it, and making it work. I mean, I would rather go with a doorbuster story, because those are, you know what the feel of the market is, right? And you adjust your pitch to it, right?
Give us an example of a recent story that you pitched and was picked up, and the TV studio wanted to have your client or wanted you to talk about that pitch.
So these are like more like time related stories. We just completed a series of stories related to Black History Month.
Okay.
February is Black History Month, right? So we initiated the pitch with a different approach, but we felt that
I know you can't give us the proprietary secret sauce.
Yeah.
But how did you alter your strategy in order to have the maximum response or engagement from news organizations?
Right. So you get the feel of the first try. I have my press release. I crafted it this way. Let me go out there and sell it. Right. Decent response. Not what I was expecting. So I mean, I went ahead and changed it. Maybe this is not the right way to do it. So you got to pivot sometimes, right? And we have this thing going on right now in Houston and across the US. And guess what? A lot of the folks that are associated with this initiative fit into that narrative. So why not tweak it and make it a good fit? It was a quick and very decisive move. It worked almost immediately. So yes, I mean, those are the type of things that people like me or colleagues that work in the industry, such as Michelle, we make those decisions, right? And sometimes those decisions are not necessarily the ones that we propose and to the client, and we solve that idea, but we immediately realize that maybe this is not working. We need to change this. So let's change it. Let's make it work. And sure enough, in my case, it worked really fine. So we got more than we were expecting just by making that tweak on the narrative that we were proposing to the news media.
Quick question for you. Was this a nonprofit or was this a corporation?
Nonprofit.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Michelle, you want to add anything?
Well, I'm going to disagree with Jose on this.
Okay, good. I like disagreement. Now we're getting somewhere.
I think that there is a story if you look for it.
Yes.
So certainly we have these big newsworthy events that take place within our corporation. But if our purpose, if one of our goals of PR is to establish goodwill and trust, then to establish a relationship, we need to have ongoing communication with our audience. So I do think that we can also post press releases on things happening within our company, whether it's a ribbon cutting, or maybe we have our CEO has just hit the 5-mile mark, or we have employees that are doing great things in the community that our audience would be interested in. Some of these events or some of this news may not be news that you would pay to put over the wire, but this is information that is of interest to your audience. It can help build and strengthen those relationships. And it can show the audience what your company is doing internally, or what those employees are doing to establish, to build goodwill, to establish trust, to build relationships. So I do think that there's more things that you can do. That if I think there's more places where you can find stories if you look for them.
Jose, I know that you had a late minute appointment come up. So if you need to leave us, I'll continue the conversation with Michelle, because I think she really has the truth. I'm not totally convinced that you have the truth.
Okay, great.
There's so many ways so many things that you can publicize. So if your organization wins an award,
yes,
if your SME, your subject matter expert, has been writing articles and now they've been selected to write a book, right? Those are all great things that are happening that you can share the news with. But
so
again,
let me piggyback. Yeah, let me piggyback on what Michelle is saying. And in actuality, I really believe that both of you are right. And I'll tell you why. Is I have also done PR for companies, and unless I can find an angle, thinking as a news director or thinking of a slow news day, that a news director would want to send a crew to cover the story, you're not going to get any traction. You're just your press release is going to go into the trash bin, or it's going to go straight into the trash folder if it's an email, a press release announcement, or a media advisory. But what Michelle is saying is, I think there is room, especially for media companies and their social media platforms, that is not really big, important news, but they need to generate content. And if you can help them generate content, then that's going to get you some free press coverage. Now, it may not be the evening news, it may not be one of the community programs, but you're getting your name out there. And we're going to talk a little bit later about how to maximize that exposure once legacy media picks you up. Now, so to piggyback on what Michelle is saying, there is all kinds of news. If one of your employees was awarded some kind of award in the community or the industry, if you have an anniversary date that you're celebrating the start of the company, it's like you can always generate a story. And that's what PR people do, is to look for that story so that you're maximizing the exposure and you are increasing the chances of being picked up. Otherwise, you're wasting your time and you're going to aggravate the news departments, sending a bunch of stuff that is not news, but crass pitches. So can we all agree on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't sound too convinced, Jose. I'm gonna have to keep my eye on you. All right, so let's go on to the next question. What increases the chances of generating presence in news? Jose, you want to take a stab at it?
Yeah, so I think there are two things here that, in my experience, need to be considered as extremely important. You know, one of them is having those relationships with, you know, people in news. Like in my case, in the Houston area, I think that, you know, that is almost solid. So those relationships are there.
And that's been built on years of
Yes.
cultivating that relationship and making sure that you're providing quality people to quality programming, people that are going to pay attention to determine the value of the guest that you're trying to book on there, or the story that you're trying to pitch. Someone that is unknown, chances are they're not going to particularly pay attention to your media advisor or press release because they don't know you.
Yeah, I mean, you build that reputation, right? Or you build that brand with them. You know, to put it in simple terms.
Yeah.
I mean, they almost know what to expect from you. So when they get something, they know, okay, maybe I need to look at this a little bit more, or I'm going to pay more attention to this because this is probably something that we want to publish or we want to be associated with.
Jose, have you reached the point that news directors are contacting you to see if you have a source for a story they're looking for?
Yeah, that happens. You know,
Yeah.
they check on you
Yeah.
but it, you know, I mean, people change places, right?
Yes.
People in news, they move around a lot. Well,
Every year, the list
Yeah.
of media contacts is obsolete.
yeah,
I would
so
say 6 months.
yeah, maybe not the anchors, but
Yeah.
the reporters, they change places.
I
I
used
will
to,
say frequently.
yeah, I used to handle the PR for the Foster Parent Association in El Paso. And
Mhm.
I had news organizations constantly asking me if we had any news, if we could supply them information on a story they were doing on
Yeah.
foster parenting, because again, I had that reputation, I had that relationship, and so they trusted that I could deliver on what they were looking for. What would you add, Michelle?
I love that idea of trust, going back to trust, because the reporters are looking for a story that they know will fit their beat, and they know that it will be timely, it'll be relevant, and it goes back to that relationship, the relationship of knowing that we understand each other's needs and can
Yeah.
deliver.
Yes. And let's keep going, guys. Is publicity the strategy, or are there other marketing and communication components that go with it?
So this is a very good point because and you know, this happens to me, like the pitch or the stories is the strategy, right? A lot of people think that. And I over time I happen to disagree with that because with everything that is going on different channels, we live in an omni-channel
Yes.
space, not the your, you know, you watch TV and that's it, right? You listen to
Yes.
radio and that's it. No, you're getting information from different sources or different channels. So to believe that just going by doing a press release and you're done with the work, I don't think that stands true today. I mean, there are extra things that need to happen or need to work together with that press release to make it work and to maximize your reach. I don't know, Michelle, you may have a different or similar opinion to this.
Well, I think that we need to use the integrated marketing approach where we understand that our audience is not just on one channel, like Jose had mentioned. We know that not everybody is going to be on television. We know that not everybody is going to be listening to a certain station on the radio. So we need to think about what our promotions mix is going to be and whether that's going to include press release, maybe some tactics, including the press release, and maybe some social media communities, and maybe support that with some ads. And so we have to think about what is our strategy, what are we trying to achieve, and of course, keeping the audience in mind of what are they listening to, what are they reading, what are they doing, so we can reach them most effectively.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the firing line. Quick answers. Is Twitter dead for generating press?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
It goes back to knowing your audience.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What do you recommend that people do, given what we discussed? Give us like a 5-point strategy that they need to consider.
In terms of the PR,
getting free press, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I make sure that you have a good story.
Yes.
You know, if that is what you want, if that is what you're thinking, you got to make sure that you have the right story and be realistic. You know, what you may believe to be a very cool story, a very nice story, it may not be. So we have to be honest with people and say, hey, great, you know, you're achieving all this, but is somebody else going to care about this? I don't know.
Jose, would you be open to reading a story from any viewer that is watching this and tell them whether it's a story or not?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
I know you're very diplomatic. I would say this
I'm
is
gonna hurt
crap.
some feelings though.
Yeah, I say this is crap. This is not news, but you're very diplomatic. And I know
No.
for sure Michelle would be like super diplomatic. It's like, I think this has potential if we just tweak it here and there, basically rewriting it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But no, I'm going to be quick, no, yes, no, yes. Right.
Well, we live in a very fast moving world. I
Mhm.
was commenting, I was joking with you, Jose, but I wasn't joking that the new normal for us PR people and media is what used to be the 9 o'clock office entry hour is now for me sometimes at 3 in the morning, and typically at 5 in the morning, because I have so much stuff to check to
Mhm.
see how to schedule programming, guests, and just so much. It's like we are super saturated. And again, this is the world of news directors and producers that we don't have time to be looking for a story that is convoluted or is deep in the copy instead of just right at the very top. Michelle, what would you add?
Victor, you make a great point about years past, and we would have a press release that had to cover all of these certain points. And in the first paragraph, it had to have this. But that
The
is no
lead.
longer the
Yeah,
press.
the
That
lead
is
is
no
gone.
longer the press release of today. It
Yes.
is get straight to the point, because if you don't get the editor's attention within those first few seconds, it's over. So what was the question again?
The question is, what advice do you give to people that are seeking free press?
Okay, first of all, know your audience. Know who it is that you are trying to target, and know what is going to get them to take action.
And know the audience of the programs that you're wanting to appear as a
Right.
guest.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to have to wrap it up because we got to lose Jose to a very important meeting, probably going to a TV studio.
No.
You just don't want to tell us.
Not this morning.
Okay. Well,
right.
Michelle, thank you so much for joining us. You've become a regular now. It's like, I
Thank
think
you,
we're going to
Victor.
keep you because
Yeah.
you have truthful news, not like Jose, who has
Yes.
fake news.
All
So
right,
we
guys.
look forward to seeing you guys next week. And until next week, friends, stay tuned because it happens on Victor Escalante Live, where we bring you valuable information you can use to grow your business. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.